Just a disclaimer before you commit to watching the video, this is actually a boss fight coming up, so if this is considered a spoiler for you, then maybe you want to click off, I'm not sure. This is from the Borderlands latest DLC, and I would like to talk about how you can improve this game, okay? Because I'm done ranting about the negative parts of this game, and in this video I'm probably going to talk about some of the negative things in this game, but it's time to say how we can improve it. So, if you have a million weapons in this game, it's really not worth it to advertise that if those weapons are pretty much recycled. You know, same shotgun, this time, you know, does poison damage, next time is lightning, and then next time it's fire, whatever. Actually narrow down the number of the weapons and make each one unique is not impressive if you have 1,000 guns that are recycled. I'd rather see 100 guns, and each gun is unique. That way, even me as a player, I can be under the illusion that you have a lot of guns. However, if I go to pick up a gun and it's the same gun I have with a different element, yes, maybe that should exist, however, there should be a balance. Additionally, please make the loot better. I mean, I can probably go for hours without changing any part of my loadout in this game. Come on, I mean, I don't know, like every game session, at least let me change an assault rifle, at least let me find instead one nice grenade. However, this does not apply to this game. I don't know if it was a different experience of mine, I don't know if I was leveling up fast and all the loot I was finding was terrible, but really that was the case. Also, I was quite not pleased with the fact that you pretty much have to be mashing buttons to unlock crates and get the stuff within them. I don't know, maybe there should have been a feature in which you just walk by a crate and it opens and you automatically pick up the items that you need. Okay, so for example, nobody's gonna say no to cash. For example, nobody's going to say no to ammo if running low on ammo. Or even if, I don't know, I have a little bit of ammo that I lost, I'd like to replenish it ASAP. You know, in order to do things quickly and, you know, not have an accumulated drought that ends up in me facing a boss with little ammo. I would love for this game to have satisfying shooting. This is a first-person shooter with an RPG twist. So, if you maybe learn a couple of things from the Far Cry franchise, which to me is probably the most satisfying shooting I've experienced in my whole life as a Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 alumnus. Just every single shot, there's feedback. I'm not even talking about the rumble feature in the controller, I'm talking about I feel the enemy moving in a way that is at least semi-realistic when I shoot the enemy. Even if it's with a handgun, the enemy moves in a way that makes it seem like I have shot the enemy with a gun. Besides the fact that the SFX of the guns is beyond amazing. Besides the fact that you get usually XP upon killing enemies, and it all adds to the feedback of killing an enemy. So I would love for this to happen in Borderlands some way, because really it feels like I'm shooting through cardboard most of the time when I'm shooting enemies. What about the dialogue? Okay, so they have quite a unique, you know, art style in this game. Not as unique as people like to say, in my opinion. However, it's not your average shooter. You know, the cell shading, the different, you know, inspirations behind all the character designs and so on. They should fully maximize this potential instead of just cluttering it with cliche dialogue that is trying to make you laugh every single time. However, it usually, unless you are really easy to make laugh, it usually doesn't go anywhere. You know, the dialogue just doesn't go anywhere. And it seems like they focus a lot on the dialogue being through talking over the radio, and, you know, they think they are building up villains like Handsome Jack over many phone calls instead of many encounters. instead of many other traditional ways that have worked in games in the past, in which you interact with the villain maybe a couple times, just not talking over the radio or the phone a million times. I don't know, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. Also, I want to mention the DLC. I have completed all the DLCs for Borderlands 2, and by the way, this is my only experience with this series, but I think I know enough about the game to maybe suggest a couple of improvements. I've not played the pre-sequel because Borderlands 2 was such a torturous experience for me, and so I have not played pre-sequel, which came on the disc on which I played this game. And then Borderlands 1, it's now on the PS4. I don't see myself playing a downgraded version of a game I already despised. Going back to the DLC, my issue is the DLCs, except for that one DLC, might have been DLC number 4 out of 5, in which there were, sorcerers and mages and wizards, and that was quite creative. But the other ones really didn't make an impression. It was really more of the same. I don't know if it was an excuse to get people's money. I don't know, if you really love the franchise, that you might think, the more the merrier. It's the system that I like, with a new plot, even if it's a short one, and a couple maybe new enemies, couple new guns, couple new bosses. However, 5 DLCs is just a big number, and especially this DLC, which to me is a clear marketing ploy to make people crave playing the game that is to come, and some people who are really into trophies and sold the game likely bought the game again to play this DLC for the trophies, and so this is not something that I advise doing, releasing a DLC so late down the line and then making it a paid DLC after a certain time. So just to summarize my advice regarding DLC, I'd say make every DLC as unique as the main game, or try to be, close. In addition, really think about the pricing, and more importantly, really think about the timing. I'm not even kidding when I say that this might have been the world record for the longest time that an offline game has been released and then released a DLC. And so this DLC just felt super abrupt. This DLC was really trying to set up pretty much Borderlands 3, and it's not trying to hide it. If you look at the ending, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't know, it feels like a sloppy attempt at replicating what some of the God of War games did from one game to the other. At the end of one game, you realize that, next game is definitely coming, unless, the developer goes bankrupt or the project gets cancelled for some reason. But, what else would I like to improve about this game? I think the soundtrack is absolutely gorgeous. So, I'm not gonna be biased here and pretend like everything about this game is terrible. In fact, the soundtrack to me could be the main appeal because of which I chose to play this game. Because to me, when I listen to soundtracks while gaming, they just sound much better than listening to them without gaming or without any context. And, they also make the gameplay a lot better. I mean, if we want to expand this discussion to movies, how many movies that we love dearly, if the soundtracks were bad, I don't know. I'm not even kidding when I say that movies might drop from like an 8 out of 10 to 6 out of 10 if the soundtrack was terrible. Or, a mediocre soundtrack. I mean, movies that come to mind like Interstellar with, as far as I know, Hans Zimmer's work. The movie was just fantabulous as a total package. So is Borderlands. Jesper Kidd, Sasha Dickersian, unless I'm butchering his name, Chris Velasco, maybe Rayson Varner contributed a little bit to Borderlands 2. I know he did Borderlands 1, some of the tracks of that game, and maybe I'm missing one composer for Borderlands 2. I don't know about the DLC. I did not look up the DLC as far as I remember, but it's quite similar, quite a similar vibe to what we heard in the main game. So if we want to talk about graphics, honestly, no complaints. You know, gorgeous graphics. What they try to do is what they deliver. What else are we in need of in a game? Oh, difficulty. I thought this game was more difficult than I would have liked it to be, but it's not a fun kind of difficult. It's not a Dark Souls, you know, nifty kind of difficult. No, it's difficult because it's just kind of strange. Many times, as far as I remember in the main game, I felt like I was left out in the open, and then I had to pretty much keep dying and then keep using the revive, which is you kill an enemy while you are bleeding, and then you are suddenly back to life. Many memories I did not like, and you know, in those situations I really remember how much of a bullet sponge action game this is, which is not something I'm particularly fond of. I mean, I don't know, I just think shooters, the most satisfying shooters are the shooters in which you kill the enemy in 1 to 3 bullets. At most, maybe you can have a juggernaut enemy, you know, a few and far between, and maybe you need to unload, I don't know, a few shotgun shots or whatever. Besides that, we got the game with the loot, the leveling, the difficulty. I just think there's a lot of potential in this game, in this franchise. I'm kind of shocked that even by Borderlands 2, I mean, they had Borderlands 1 and the entire lifetime of Borderlands 2 and all of the DLC to perfect the formula, and to me it's just far from perfect. The side missions to me were not that interesting, especially compared again to what I consider part of the upper echelon of first-person shooting. You got Far Cry. In Far Cry, the side missions sometimes are almost as good as the main missions. You feel like you want to do them and not forced to do them for a trophy or whatever, because the premise is, especially in Far Cry 4, I mean, I thought the Far Cry 3 side missions were kind of repetitive, but in Far Cry 4, the side missions were so unique. They were satisfying. As far as I remember, the rewards were not too shabby, and so I was motivated to do them. Here, even in the DLC, as far as I remember, there was some fetch side quests. I don't know why we are even talking about fetch side quests in 2019. Nobody is impressed that you have 20 side missions in a game if 10 of them are fetch missions. I'm not saying this is the case with Borderlands. Maybe there were 2 fetch missions out of 10 missions or whatever, but still, 1 fetch mission in 2019 is like a million fetch missions. We are supposed to be woke right now in terms of gaming and RPGs in specific. Besides that, Borderlands 3, if it really follows the things I was saying, and I'm pretty sure that the suggestions I made are not too crazy. I mean, a lot of people probably share the same thoughts, so if they just go along the line of what I was talking about, I would reckon that this game would get some nice sales. Not that it's not selling well, but in the world of marketing and retail and entertainment and sales, if I didn't say sales the first time, I don't remember any company who wanted to stay stagnant at a certain rate of sales. Borderlands, Gearbox, if I remember the developer's name correctly, there is no reason why it would not want to make this the best thing that has ever happened to at least first-person shooters, okay? Competing with a lot of heavy hitters, Call of Duty is coming back with a bang. Honestly, I haven't played Call of Duty as, you know, meaning purchasing a game and beating the story, maybe playing the online a little bit. I have not done that since Black Ops. However, this new Call of Duty is grabbing my attention, and I hope Borderlands will follow in the same suit. I have nothing but good wishes for this game, this franchise, the developers, the fans. I truly believe this can be one of the greatest things of all time.